the piece we finished on Sunday, which we're now going to turn into a clock for, well, as Nick requested. So all done. So I was going to take out the back of this just with a router, freehand it, but I thought if it slips or it goes offline, it's not going to look very nice. So what I've decided to do is, to make life a little bit easier, and obviously I'm going to do more clocks, so this could save time in the long run, I have come up with a design for a 3D printed jig for the router. I have a palm router with a 20mm guide bush that this would work perfect with. What it is I've measured the size of this, and then I've allowed 18mm overall size bigger, which allows for the 20mm guide bush and the router bit, and that should give me a fairly close. I don't want it really tight, but I want it a little bit of space around it. So I've allowed a couple of mil extra, and hopefully that'll fit in nice and neat. So we've designed that in a piece of free software called Tinkercad, which is on the internet, perfect for designing 3D items, whether it be for carving or 3D printing. So then we move it over to another piece of software called Cura, where it tells the 3D printer on how to print it and what to do. So this software, you change your speed settings, your temperature settings, your feed rates, all the other stuff, and that then tells your 3D printer what to do. So it's going to take 4 hours and 56 minutes to print. So I've now got one printing, so we're not going to get a chance to use it till tomorrow after work. By the time it's finished printing tonight, it's going to be too late. So what we'll do, as soon as that's done and printed and ready, we will come back and we'll get it set up and we'll route it out. How I'm going to attach it to the actual bowl yet, or the clock back, I'm not sure, because I haven't actually put any holes in the jig for fixing it, but I may just try the double-sided sticky tape job by putting masking tape on both sides and then super glue them together and see if that holds. As long as it doesn't move while we're routering it, it shouldn't be a problem, but we'll try that tomorrow. So anyway, that's the idea. Hopefully it's going to work. So here's our jig starting to print. It's now putting down the raft. I always use a raft because I seem to get better adhesion to the board if I use a raft. I've had a few pieces where the corners lift if I don't use a raft, and when we're doing it for a jig, we need it to be perfectly flat, because if not, it's not going to sit on our workpiece properly. So that'll do the raft, and then I'll start crisscrossing over the top to build the raft up, and then what they'll do is it will print the jig over the top of it. As you can see, the centre is hollow because obviously there's not going to be nothing in the centre, and that's where our router piece is all going to run through, and then cut out our hole for our clock workings. The first 2 layers will go down slow, so it gives perfect adhesion to the bed. And then after the first 2 layers are down, the machine will speed up to 80mm a second. Or no, 80mm a minute, I think it is. Yeah, 80mm a minute, not a second. So that'll then print up at normal speed, and then hopefully that'll be ready to use tomorrow. So we'll leave that going. It's going to be going for the next 5 hours, and we'll come back in the morning and see what it looks like. So I've got my my 3D printed jig for my workings. So before I actually do it on the bottom of the bowl, I want to just do a test one and a little bit of ply to make sure that it works and it's the right size, because once we cut the bottom of the bowl or clock, it's too late. So I've got a bit of old ply, got the jig. I'm going to super glue the jig to the board by using the masking tape trick, which I will show you, and then we'll test it and see what happens. So I will put this on a mount, and we'll see how well it comes out. So I'm using a palm router for this because it's a lot easier to handle than a main big router. The bit we've got in there is a 12.7mm bit by 1/4 inch shank, and we're using a 30mm bush guide to run around our outside, and we're going to be using it around about, well, we're not going to be going too fast, we're only going to be going maybe, I don't know, 1500 RPM. We don't need to be going massively quick. Slow cuts because it's plier and that'll split if we're not careful. So let's do a couple of passes and then we'll see if it fits. This is the ideal time that if the jig is too big or too small, we can modify it and then get it the correct size, so there's no work to do. I just drop straight into it. So let's get it cut and see what happens. Just take it down a little bit deeper. We just have to be a little bit careful because where it comes off the edge of the jig, it's a tendency for it to tip, because really this should be a bigger platform. I could put the plunge bit on it, but this is just for a test. So what we'll do is we will just blow this out and we'll see if this fits in there. It's a little bit big, to be perfectly honest, but could we live with that? I suppose it's better to be big than small. So it's a little bit big, but could we live with that? I suppose at the end of the day, as long as, you mean, this is not a problem here, because we want that a bit of gap in there, because obviously we're going to have to make it so that hooks, because that would be that way obviously. So we need a little bit of room around there. But that's got a little bit of a gap around there. Is that a major issue? Not really, is it? Don't really want it tight. So I think we can live with that, to be perfectly honest. Could have made that a little bit smaller, but if we go too tight, that's just going to be an issue. So it's around about, let's have a look. Tape's not the best. So it's about 8mm from each side, which is what it should be. Yeah, about 8mm from each side. So I'm actually happy with that. So I'm going to go and get the actual bowl, and we will try and rebate out for the back of the clock without going all the way through. So bear with me and I'll be back. So I've got that glued on. I've done it so that's in long ways of the grain, so it looks proper. I've put the proper router bed on the plunge router bit on the palm router, so it gives me a little bit more stability. That's not going to fall off of the template now, so hopefully everything's going to be good. We've got the clog face onto a bit of matting, so hopefully it's not going to slide about. We've gone the same way. We've glued the template down, or the jig down, exactly the same as we did before on a bit of ply. Obviously, as the bowls, because the clock is curved on the back, we've got a little bit of movement, but hopefully it's enough to hold it. We're not going to be going mad. We're just going to be doing gentle passes. So we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first pass, just to take out the excess, and then we will just stop and see how much, or whether the fit's good or not. So let's try that. So we'll bring that over to the side. Again, I'm using a 30mm guide bush, so not a major size. So right, so let's go for it. So what we're just going to do is just going to try that. Make sure it fits. I've got a little bit of a shoulder on there that we're just going to have to turn off, but other than that, it fits, it's in the hole, so I think we're good. So let's just take a little bit more out. Don't want too much, just need a little bit more, perhaps another couple of mil. Got plenty of meat in there, so we're alright. So there we go. That's as far as I'm going to go in. That gives us plenty of room to hang on the wall, and it gives us plenty to hammer through to have our nut and wash it on the other side. So let's get this off. This should just pull off like so. There shouldn't be any super glue on our piece. We'll re-oil the back because we put citrus oil on the back of it, so before it goes up we will just re-oil the back, so nice and neat, tidy. Could just take these little bits off of here if I wanted to. Actually, I might just clean them up with a chisel, get rid of those, make it look a little bit more like it's actually supposed to be in there. So we just get a chisel. Actually, a sharp chisel might help. Got that one. We're going to push that one that way because if not the grain will break out because it's on the grain, and that'll just break out the edge if we're not careful. So that's that one, and this one will do the same because it's on the edge as well. A little bit harder on that one because we're going across grain. So we'll just get a little bit of sandpaper on that and sand that back. Just take the burrs off the edges out. So that's a bit of 180 or 120, just a little bit of 180, just to make it look decent. So what we'll do is just get rid of this towel with all these shavers on so we don't scratch our resin. So what I'll do is, while I've got that out, I'm just going to give that another coat of burnishing oil just to finish that off. So I've just got a few scratches around there, so let's just rub those out. Go with the grain just to rub those scratches out. And that's the back, but we still want it to look nice. That's a bit better. Right, so while that's drying, I'll just get the bits for the working. We can get all those together. So we'll put that on there. That goes through there like so. Washer, nut. Get a bit of price in it back up. So just a gentle nip, don't need to be tight, real tight. Just a nip. So that's all on. So now take the plastic off of our hands. He says easier said than done without bending them. It's always bends so easy. That's it, got it. So that's our first one. Now our minute hand. So flimsy. And now our second hand. Can't get it on.
Many months later.
Try this. Got a little tiny socket here. Just with a little hole in the middle. See if that'll push on. I think we might have it. Let's try that. Try it. Now the second hand then. So obviously we need a battery. So just move that down a little tiny bit. So let's grab a battery. So there we go. So that's the top. So we need to set this to whatever the time is. Let's say, I don't know what the time is. My phone's here, so I can't see. Let's say it's 12 o'clock. I can't, I don't know what the time is. Because, like I say, I'm recording on my phone. So 12 o'clock. So there we go. Just move that around a little tiny bit because it's not quite right. There we go. So it's 12 o'clock. So that's how it goes up. So there is the clock. So there we go, all done, all finished. So we've got our workings in the back, kept it in line with the grain. Thought it'd look a little bit better. All on there, ready to go on the wall. So hopefully Nick will put that up where she wants it. And we'll go from there. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. If you have, then please smash that like and share button. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, speak to you soon, and bye for now.